do a tier list. I feel like this patch changed enough for it to like impact what you'll want to play or what you won't want to play or what you want to play against, what you won't want to play against. So it's definitely worth making a tier list, and we'll just go with it and see what we end up with. Because I'm honestly not like, sometimes when we do these tier lists, I jump into it and I know exactly where I want to place, but I don't think about it until the god comes up. It's like Achilles. I think Achilles hasn't really changed much. I think he's a really good solo laner. Nothing over the top. Solid A+. I think Agni's quality of life buffs are nice for him. I think the build changes are nice for him. I don't think the quality of life changes make him OP. I'd say he moves up to like A+. His early game, like to level 5-6, is still his issue. And then he has to watch out for any matchups that are bad. But in general, Agni is a pretty consistent pick all around. Objective play, lane play after level 5, for ganks, for rotations. Probably one of the better mages for rotations and ganks, if we're being completely honest. I'd say AMC is still good, but has fallen down in terms of priority. I don't believe in ranked, I do believe you can play double hunter in ranked. You can play 4 Fizz and 1 magic, especially now. It's easier to get double guardian because guardians are being played in solo, but I see in ranked people getting punished way too much because they don't know how to farm. So if you're playing AMC mid and you have a hunter and duo and you're not prioritizing farm between your 2 hunters to stay ahead, you end up getting really hurt by them building physical defense, and you feel it. So I'm going to put AMC in A+. Pwash, I'm going to put in B because he's not safe enough. Ama, I'm going to put in A. I don't think he's performing all that great. I think he's super average. On her, I'm going to put in A. I'll probably put Honor in A+. I think Honor is consistently one of the top like 2, 3, 4 hunters in the game right now for you to play. All right, you're not gonna like this. I think Anubis is not terrible. I actually don't think Anubis is terrible. I think mid lane is one of the most important roles in Smite right now. So that being said, the reason for it, if you can clear the lane and rotate, you can impact the game as much as a jungler. Being magic, you usually impact the game even more after that first or second item. Elo hell, but it's weak in commentating. So Anubis can clear the lane pretty much instantly, has insane pressure, and has good rotations. I think that build that I got from one of these Anubis mains actually does very well and sustains insane through fights and has good team fight potential. The biggest thing is you have to be aggressive. So if you're going to play Anubis and not be aggressive, you're going to lose, and that's why he's an A. He does get pooped on by anti-heal, but right now I think you can just kill through the anti-heal. Good chance you die, but you usually should be taking one person out with you right now. That's why I'm having Anubis in A rather than super low. Ao Kuang I think is very consistent, if not even better, with a bobble build. Going into this bobble build, jungling Ao Kuang should be very, very strong. Aphrodite I think is insanely good as a support. Apollo I think is insanely average. Arachne has had a very high win rate. They nerfed Arachne. I'm going to put Arachne at A+ right now because of the nerfs. They made it so it's a hybrid nerf. The 2 is back to 3 auto attacks to stun somebody rather than 2. But you do not have to hit 3 in a row. You just hit, 3 in a row without hitting something else. As long as you hit somebody 3 times, they'll get stunned. Even if you hit other creeps or something, it won't break it. They changed the way the 2 works. Ares I think is the second best support, maybe best support. I don't think he's ban worthy, but I think he's up there as top pick, so that's where we're gonna put him in S. Artemis, I haven't played Artemis with a bobble build. I don't think you can play hunters with bobble build because Transcendence is too valuable, so I'm gonna leave Artemis in I'll probably put her in B for now. If I'm wrong about bobble and there's a way to get value out of ability Artemis with bobble, then we'll move her up, but I don't see that happening. Artio I think is A+. He's been doing really good as a support. Athena still an insanely good support even after the nerfs. They nerfed Athena's passive, but I don't think Athena's passive makes Athena that great. I think it's just Athena's taunt. And then the 3 slow got nerfed a little bit, but it's still very good. It's not the end of the world. It's more of a balance than a hyper nerf. Atlas I'd put in the average category. His team fight is not that good. Awilix, one of the better junglers. I'm going to put in an S tier. Consistent, doesn't have to play around knockups, can use the ult as just a power buff and auto attack speed buff. Doesn't have to use it for the pull. That's what you have to realize if you're playing Awilix. Baba Yaga I think is consistently a top mid, very safe, does a lot of damage. Probably one of the most underrated mids still, and I don't know why. I think everyone knows how good she is, but they're just bored playing her. Bacchus I like, and they buffed him. His flop has more damage now. I don't know why. Put him in A+. Bakasura, trash. That's it. Bake, I'm going to put Bake in, I'll probably put him in A. I think for high levels, he's borderline B tier because he just loses late game, hyper late game. But in poopy games, lower level games, he farms out and wins so hard early and mid a lot of the time against these guys that you don't hit hyper late. So I'll put him in A for the overall rank. Baron, super average. I'd only play him support. Bastet got a buff. Quality of life buff, but it's a buff. Plus, Soul Eater got a power buff. So Soul Eater's better. So it's a really quality of life buff and then a damage buff plus Bobble. So having Bobble build on Bastet and being able to reset the 1 instantly and get the cooldown starting pretty much pushes her over the top. I borderline want to say she's SS tier. I think the only reason I won't put her here right now is because her jungle clear in general isn't insane. So she can be out like map controlled essentially by a jungler with more clear and faster rotations. She does have really just an insanely good game right now though. Bellona, one of the top solos for me. Kabrakan, insanely average. Don't really know where you're playing him. Camazot's insanely average. Like CC. Cerberus getting some play now, doing a lot better in the solo lane and a decent support. CERN, I think he's trash because he doesn't have a CC immune ult and he doesn't create any pressure. He doesn't have lane clear over anybody else. He just kind of exists. Chalk is killing it. I hate Chalk, but he's so tanky that he's killing it. He's doing good. Chunga, hyper situational. You aren't great in any lane. If you play her in the mid lane, which is really the only lane you can play her, she has to play like an assassin mage, which doesn't work. And if anyone ever uses an active on your ult, you instantly lose that fight. That's that. I still think Charon support is OP. It has mass control and is probably the most annoying god in the game. Easy. Charybdis, safe ADC, ult still really hard to be consistent, so she's going to go A. Chernobog, A+, easy rotations, good laning phase, extremely safe. Chiron, I'd say Chiron mid ADC. ADC I'd probably put like an A-ish. Mid I'd put A+. Chronos sucks. I don't know what they're going to do with Chronos, bro. I'll say situational because you can kind of play him in mid, but that's it. And even then, it's pretty bad. It's not that great. Cleo's going to go in A+. Cthulhu. Is Cthulhu SS? He's better, but I don't think we're putting him SS yet. That change to his 2 makes him so much more valuable in laning phase and in and around the early parts of team fights before he ults. This is an alternate universe where we can say Chalk is good. And trust me, it hurts saying Chalk is good. I hate Chalk. I think Cucullin is still solid as a warrior. I think Cupid is still dog ass shit. Oh, this is supposed to be brown. Brown for poop. I don't remember what color these were. Let's make this one yellow for P. Because they're both in the toilet. All right. Dodgy. Dodgy does insanely well against a lot of the top picks in the game. Kulkin, Thoth, a lot of these supports you're able to pull and play around. A lot of these junglers that are getting played, you get to play around like a Wheelix. I think I'm putting Dodgy in S tier. I think Dodgy is kind of a sleeper assassin. I know people are playing her, but she should be really prioritized. Danza is average as it gets. Disco, average as it gets. Erlang Shen hybrid jungle build. Decent, playable, not that great. ESET, cracked, just has counter matchups. Have to watch out for counter matchups like Agni. Things that can pretty much just ruin your entire time. If you aren't playing against that, the specific counter matchups, this god is cracked right now. Fafnir, still average. They did change something to Fafnir, right? I forgot what it was. The animation on the 3. You're not, is it that? What did they do to Fafnir? Do you guys remember what they did to Fafnir? He's not locked out in ult anymore. It doesn't get yeah. Okay, so it is. His animation when he threes, there isn't as much. He isn't locked in place forever. I haven't played him. I just remember them talking about something like that. So he's probably gonna move up in terms of viability, but he's still overall in the current meta average. Fenrir, I'd actually put Fenrir down into situational. Super hard to get away with playing him full damage or hybrid. Freya average. Ganesh solid. Geb solid. Gilgamesh solid. I hate Gilgamesh. Guan getting more play. Guan with the bobble changes plus some of the item changes, you're seeing him played a little bit more. He's actually doing pretty good. I like Guan in a team fight setting too, so we're gonna move him up. Hachi's still a top ADC. Hades I think is insanely average. Hebo still struggling in the jungle. I don't know, I see some people try to hype up Hebo in the jungle. I don't think it's that great. Fen support, I'm down. Fen support I'd put higher than anywhere else. Heimdall, all right, I was saying Heimdall's ass to bug Schmeep. Heimdall's TP and 3 are still great. His ult animation, still shit. His kit is not his ass in general, but that ult animation makes me kind of want to put him in A. Hell, not able to be played too easily right now. Hera, nothing but an ultimate. Hercules, I actually like, especially with Bobble build. You have a lot of spam. Horus, I think, is average as a support. Ho Yi still struggles in the laning phase because of clear. Hun Bat's got a buff to his 3. It feels a little weird because sometimes you fall out of the sky on the 3. I'm not sure why. But in general, Bobble makes a lot of assassins better. Hunbat's gaining even more value from that because he has a long ult cooldown. So he's going to benefit a lot from Bobble plus the 3 change. The 3 change is a nice quality of life change. Makes it so much more consistent to use. Ishtar, I'd put into the average tree, honestly. Her team fight's pretty weird. Her 3's too easy to block. Echel is a sleeper mage, probably one of the highest damaging mages in the game. Izanami, average, doesn't do anything other than clear. Janice, I'd put in A+ tier, mainly because of a lot of gods counter Janice, and very few people play Janice at peak value, just in the game in general. Like, there's a handful of people that are really playing Janice correctly. Jingwei, I actually think is sleeper. She's ungankable. Her crit build is cracked. Her one-shot build is cracked, and you can easily carry a lobby because of how safe she is early and to how good she is late. Her auto attacks, if you're wondering, with the one-shot build hit for 1300, and then the follow-up auto should for around 1100, so you can one-shot any mage, jungler, or hunter. Jormungandr, I think he's average because he just doesn't do enough. He doesn't have enough control. Just in general. Kali sucks. There are no items in the game right now that benefit playing Kali. It's forced. B is generous. B is generous. We're going to go A on Kepri because his team fight is not that great. King Arthur, I don't know if there's a Bobble build making King Arthur crack, so I'm going to put him in A for now for just being average. Kukulkan is still top tier. The nerf they did to Kukulkan was counteracted by making it so the 3 starts ticking as soon as it hits the ground, which makes Kukulkan's 3 land more often. So it makes the damage loss not matter because you're actually hitting in times you never would have hit before. So Kukulkan is actually better, or still top, whatever you want to look at. Kumba still underperforming. Honestly, Kumba I'm going to put down here to B tier. Really hard to sync up with a lot of the gods that are in the game right now. Kazimbo I think is solid support and solo. Very annoying for hunters. Not broken. Nothing special. Lancelot for me is going to go to A+. I've seen a lot of junglers roll teams with Lancelot. I think it's a mix of the fact that a lot of the top gods of the game don't have stuns right now that people want to play. So Lancelot never gets CC'd off his horse. In the event that they pick correct gods against Lancelot, then you're not going to have that luxury, and it's going to be a lot harder for you to play. Loki, I'd say Loki is actually kind of better than good. He's pretty solid for the way the game is played. Play for farm, play for your life, get swift kills and get out. Loki's not really struggling right now in any sense. I will say that Bobble build should make him even better. He could pretty much perma stealth, but we'll see. Mammon, I think Mammon is probably borderline. I'm in between these two. I would argue either. She's definitely not bad. She's not top tier. Too easy to shut down now ever since they took the knock-up immunity away from her one. Marticarus, I think Marticarus is the easiest, safest hunter in the game, and he's not bad. I saw someone try to talk shit on his ult. His ult still does a ton of damage. The god's kind of cracked. We'll see if the build shifts to a Soul Eater build, by the way, since Soul Eater was buffed. We might see that over Failnaught. I don't know yet. We'll see. Maui, I'd say, is a solid support. His ultimate is cracked. Medusa, situational because her dash is too easy to block. I gotta move her down. She just doesn't have a good landing phase. She can't clear, and her dash is trash. It's kind of like Ishtar, where if the team recognizes, hey, I just stand in front of this god, they can't play the game, kind of hard to play. Mercury, I think, is still good because of his clear potential, and I think since most people aren't running a lot of crit builds, he gets even more value. People aren't going to build Spectral, but he's not top tier. Merlin, solid mage, especially with the new items and buffs to items. MLF, solid mage. Just not that safe. Thank you, Anonymous, for using my link to buy gems. Everyone, nexus.gg/weekend if you get gems. They're all on sale everywhere. Just use my link so I get higher money. Thank you. Mulan's going to go down into B tier because she falls off so hard. I hate her because the late game and Smite game is played too much around late game. Naja, I'd say, is A+. Bobble build with a hybrid build is pretty good. Allows you to be very annoying, but you don't hard carry with that build, so I'm not going to put Naja any higher. Neath, I'd say, is decent with an ability build out of mid or ADC. Have presence, have a decent laning phase. Not really anything that's pulling you down, so that's why we're going to put her in A+. Nem, similar situation to Athena, or sorry, to Nemesis. Sorry, Nemesis, similar to Neath. Different lane, obviously, but you have a solid jungle phase. Your ganks are good. You lack super hard CC, but you have the ability to blow up tanks. So you kind of trade off. and just take your W's where you do. Nike. I think Nike's still super undervalued. I'm going to put her in A+, but I think she's undervalued. I think she could go S tier. Nox. I don't think Bobble saves Nox. If it does, I'll be amazed. It's just weird still having to hit 2 abilities to get use out of 1 ability. I don't know. Nual with the one-shot build I like. If you're a bad mid laner, get stuck in mid, run that build, sit mid, farm. Nuts. Insanely unsafe. A hunter that should be ganked on cooldown shouldn't be able to be played in the dual lane. But ability build in mid is cracked. You have a ton of pressure, a lot of control. You're safe because the lane is shorter. Have really good rotations, and that ultimate in the beginning of team fights or the middle of team fights is broken. Odin is the best god in the game. If you did not know, Odin's 3 now only pulses twice. It does the same amount of damage as it used to, but it only pulses twice. So it pulses once, so slow, pulses a second time, and then you get a stun. It's pretty much instant. The pulses are quick. It's a ton of damage. He's good in support. He's good in solo. He's good in the jungle. He's the best god in the game. I truly believe he's by far the best god in the game. The biggest thing, they also buffed it so you get, if you didn't know, when you pop your shield and then you one on somebody while the shield is active, you do extra 15% damage. It used to be 50% only when the shield was full. Now if the shield takes any damage down to a certain point, it will still do the extra damage. But the biggest thing with Odin, now that the 3 is so cracked and Bobble is buildable, you can pretty much run around in fights using your 2 to shield yourself for another health, just bar, if not more than a health bar, and the 3 to do damage and the 1 to move around and avoid and do damage. It's just a weird synergy that works out so well. He's extremely cracked. Oleron sucks. I'm going to put him down here into S tier or C tier C tier. No reason to play him. Ult's on too long of a cooldown. Osiris. People keep trying to hype up Osiris. I don't think he's good. He's not a good late game god. He's one of the, I feel like he's one of the worst warriors late game unless you have a full dive comp. But individually by himself, I feel like he's one of the worst warriors in the game. Pele, I think, is still very good. Full committing assassin is kind of difficult into the late game, but it still works out. Persephone, I would say, is actually decent. I think her damage is high. She's safe. She has a good team fight ult. Poseidon, I like Poseidon's buffs. I borderline think Poseidon is close to S tier. His laning phase and his ability to clear the lane and leave early is huge now. And that 3 is just way more consistent. I'm going to leave him in A+ till I see him a little bit more. Raw, I'm going to put down into A, just not safe enough, too easy to dive, doesn't really bring that much to the team fight. Raijin, I'm going to bring to the same kind of situation, a little bit harder to dive, but his ultimate puts him in a bad spot. Rama, top hunter. Rat, very high, very valuable jungler. Building Bobble is weird on him. That's the only reason I'm not putting him in S. Ravana, solid, consistent jungler. Scylla, I don't think the build changes really make Scylla that much better. I don't think they help her too much. You do get a lot more pen because of double flat pen 2 into the early Karns, but you still need real poly. I'm going to put her in A+. I could see S tier for, like, I think she's more valuable in a lot of mids, but I think overall A+ will work. Serket, I think is still trash. They can't find a way to make this god good in the jungle. I don't know why. Set, extremely average. Too easy to shut down with the anti-heal. Shiva, average warrior, doesn't bring enough to the table in the late game team fights. Scotty is trash. There's even the dog change. Scotty is trash. She doesn't do anything. Sobek, I think Sobek is probably the best support in the game. Best lane phase, and then one of the best team fight presences really there is. They also just made it so he goes under walls, right, with his ultimate, so he can't even be trapped in anywhere by anything like an Odin or anything. It's a really solid quality of life change for him. Really a huge buff, to be honest. Soul, I would say, is below average, very situational. Have to play around pressure. If you lose it, you're screwed. Wukong, I'd put into this A+ tier. Solid solo laner, not over the top, not worth banning, pickable in most situations. I would personally rather have a tank solo laner than a hybrid damagey solo laner like a Wukong. Surtur, similar situation to Wukong. You get a lot of control. You'll probably hard carry easier on a Surtur or a Wukong than you will on some of these other warriors like a Bellona. But the Bellona's going to have more value in a team fight around good players, where a Surtur or Wukong is going to have more value when people are separated and you're able to 1v1 or 1v2. Susano is still one of the best junglers in the game. Whoops. I haven't messed around with Bobble and Susano, but Susano hasn't. It's still Susano's. Like last 2 years, Susano's been top tier. Sylvanas. This is the buff Sylvanas. They made Sylvanas' 1 better, his 3 better, and his autos better, and it is nice. I'm gonna be really interested to see how, with him being more consistent, him rise in ranks. So I'm gonna put him in A+. I think Terra is cracked now that the 1 is at level 1, so you can dash right away and clear lanes. We can run either, Andy. I'm down for both. I'll queue whatever you want to queue. Thanatos still top tier, has bad matchups though. A lot of the top gods are strong matchup in Thanatos. He's a good god in general. You just have to slow down your gameplay, so I'm gonna keep him in S tier. ML or the Morrigan, I'm gonna move down to A still. I don't think she's that great. She's not consistent enough. Thor is probably the best jungler in the game. Bobble makes him cracked, shorter ult cooldowns, more spam in team fights, poke potentials off the charts. It's ridiculous. Thoth still the second best mage in the game next to Kukulkan, even after the changes. Tiamat, one of the top safest mid lane gods in the game, because it's one of the only mages that has CC immunity, has team fight CC, and has double movement in terms of getting in and out of fights. So Kiyomi is performing really well. Bobble build should make him even stronger. Tier performing really well. I don't think he's quite top tier solo, but his team fight presence is nuts. We're gonna put him in A+. Ul, I'm gonna put down into A+. I still think as an ability hunter, he destroys. Vamana, I think is still solid. Maybe S, maybe A+. Somewhere in between, you could argue. I don't think Vulcan moves up. I think the build changes in favor of Vulcan, but I think Vulcan still struggles because of his kit and his no CC immunity. Shibalanke not consistent enough in the duo lane to be played right now. Xing 10 got a buff. We're going to move him up. He's annoying to hunters. That's just what he does. Yamoja with Bobble should be cracked. Should be a beautiful thing. Ymir, situational. Really hard to play him as support. You have to have the perfect, it has to be the perfect counter pick up. Yu Wong in the mid lane, very, very average. Zeus got some buffs, quality of life changes. I don't think it makes him any better. The biggest thing for Zeus this patch is less the quality of life change and more the items shifting in his favor, but I don't think it's enough. I do think you could play him, and I think the game, if the other team realizes, hey, they have a Zeus, we're gonna focus on him, you're screwed. If they don't, you kind of go nuts. Zhang Kui, I like Zhang. I'm gonna put him in A+. I think his team fight is very, very strong. And there's my tier list. What are we on? We're on like 11.3. I think it's 11.3. I'll leave it there. So there's the tier list.